I think we are all set. So, hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar today on how to deliver high quality user experiences at scale. I'm Ashwini Sathe. I'm a senior group product marketing manager at Sauce Labs. And joining me today is our esteemed panel from eMoney advisors, Chuan and Laurie. Welcome. And I would love for you to introduce yourselves to our audience here.
Sure. My name is Chuan O. I'm Vice President of Quality Assurance here at eMoney Advisor and really excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Laurie Henderson. I'm Director of Quality Assurance here at eMoney. And same thing. Welcome to be here.
Absolutely. Very warm welcome. So let's look at the agenda today. We are here to talk about eMoney Advisor's quality journey. What were sort of the challenges and the evaluation criteria they had, when they started to find the right solution? What was the result and business impact after they implemented Sauce Labs? What are some of the top learnings and key takeaways they have for you all? As well as we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. Before we move on to the content, I did have some housekeeping items to review. This is a 45 minutes webinar, and you should see the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screens. So please use that to send us questions throughout the webinar. As I said, we have some time for Q&A at the end, so we'll cover as many as we can here. And if you're not able to cover some, we'll follow up later with you. Also, if you have any technical issues, please use the Zoom chat to chat with us. And you can also send us an email at webinar@saucelabs.com. Lastly, this webinar is getting recorded. So you should receive an email from us with the recordings and slides very soon after the webinar. So let's get into it. So I think it would be good to just set the stage by getting to know eMoney Advisor and its business landscape a bit better. So Chuan, why don't you give us an overview here?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you, Sauce Labs and Ashwini, for the opportunity for us to be here. Really excited about this opportunity. Also, I want to thank Laurie and my QA team for making this such a successful venture that we started back in 2019. So a little bit about eMoney Advisor. We are located in Radnor, Pennsylvania, which is down the street from Villanova University. We were founded in 2001, and we build financial management software platform for financial advisors, planners, assistants, administrators, and their end clients. So very robust application that we have. As you can see there, we're serving over 100,000 financial professionals in all those roles that I mentioned. And we're reaching close to 6 million households, right? For them to support them with the retirement plans, investment plans, education plans, very robust application from advanced planning to foundational planning, decision center, so needs analysis, things like that. And those are in place with a lot of reports and analytics that are built in, and even ABM, our Bamboo application that helps with even the marketing of their firm. So a very robust application that we built since 2001. My journey started with eMoney back in 2016, right after Fidelity Investments acquired the company in 2015. So, it's been really exciting to see the company grow. And, our mission is to helping people talk about money, and our vision is financial peace of mind for all. So that's a little bit about the company.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And those numbers are definitely incredible. So as we look at, you gave us a very wonderful overview. As a next step, we'd like to understand, the quality journey, right? Like every organization out there is experiencing different challenges based on where they are in their quality journey. So what was that number one challenge for your QA team?
Yeah, so number one challenge I would say the growth within the business, the marketplace, and then our organization, right? We've been growing a lot there. And with the backing of Fidelity, we were able to further innovate, expand our feature set, modernize our tech stack, okay? Which leads to expanding our market base and the users and the customers that are using our application. So the challenge for us in development and QA is keeping up the high quality product with a lot more work and speed to market with every changing landscape of technology. So which leads to the growth in our areas and the market pressures that we're going to have to face, right? So,
Okay.
so the main point there is definitely the growth within all that.
So I think you highlighted about, the speed to market, was there also challenges around like the, in-house testing, like you
Yes.
pointed out? Hmm.
So,
Okay. So I think it,
mhm, continue. The market pressures. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot
yes.
there as we continue to grow. And yeah, and being around for over 20 years, um, we're industry leaders, starting out with our planning application for our desktop and laptop solution, right? But as the mobile technology advances, we also need to expand our mobile experience. So that was a big pressure there that we need to be able to support both all the technologies as that continue to grow. Our advisors and client landscape has also changed, right? Before they would sit in the office, but now with the ability to have mobile devices, tablets, they can go anywhere to meet, right? So we need to make sure that the
Absolutely.
user experience is fluid between meeting in the office, meeting at the coffee shop, going out to dinner, and they can bring up their devices and be able to show that real time. And it's real time information, user experience great, and we want to ensure that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
I think a lot of companies out there would identify with those market pressures, and you already started to talk about it. So I think it would be a good time to just zoom into a little bit of the, testing challenges that your team was facing, and also what was sort of the business impact that it had on your organization.
yes. So as I mentioned, with the additional market pressures, we needed to expand our mobile devices and tablets in-house for testing. We supported Apple devices before. We had to expand out to Android devices, which means a lot more testing, right? With more demands of the scope and the delivery. So the key challenges also is that as we continue to grow, we had to have professionals all over different time zones. We can't be so secluded within the Philadelphia area. We had to expand our, resource pool throughout different time zones. So we have Scrum teams all, throughout the different time zones, as well as now with the additional work for mobile, we had to have devices that have to be located, physical devices that were located in a lot of our areas. So we had office, of course, in Radnor, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia. We had an office in Providence. We had an office in California for our West Coast. So we had devices there. People who live around those areas could come into the office and utilize those physical devices. That was a big challenge there. Or we had to mail out devices, but then you could have multiple devices for everyone, right? That was a big challenge for us. Even when we had those physical devices in our offices, it was a security challenge. We always had to lock them up. Who had the key last to get to the closet with all the devices, and then the devices we had to maintain and update them on a regular basis. So that was a big challenge as well. Missing devices, things like that.
Yeah, they were shared across our entire department.
Yep.
So, if one person was working on it or using it, they would have to go and wait until someone else was done, and then they could actually start testing. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So a lot of limitations there.
Mhm.
Another challenge was with the additional scope and a lot more testing. We found that manual testing was not efficient for us, right? So we had to, try to address that challenge. So those are the key challenges that I, can further dig into as we continue on.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's good. And what was sort of the business impact of these challenges, Sean?
Yes, the key risks and business impacts would be the cost, right? So now we actually have to go out, buy $1,000 devices, send them all over the place, maintaining them, the overhead of all that. As I mentioned before, the additional business impact is that we have to continue to test faster, but the devices aren't available. We need to find the bugs and work with development. Development needs the applications on the devices as they continue to do their unit testing, things like that. It slowed down our development velocity, right? It slowed down our productivity and team morale, that they're not able to produce as quickly as we want to meet the market demands there. And then it also, as I said before, advisors and clients are constrained to being in their office. Or if they wanted to meet outside, they have to print out the reports, print out the plans, and now it's physical, and now security is going to be a risk, right? Because all their PII data is on the paper, all their personal information, all the financial information is now printed out, and they're out in public somewhere, and they're handing that paper, right? So those are big risks that we need to also, that we identified and we need to address.
Okay, yeah, and those are all big ones, right? Like you can directly see how it impacts the productivity, development velocity, and I think the increased risk to the customer experience is definitely a critical one here.
Yes.
So, it was really good to understand the challenges and all the market pressures that you already talked about. We'd like to understand the eMoney Advisor QA program. How was it structured? What were the quality practices that you had in place? And more importantly, how did you adapt and evolve those quality practices as you were experiencing rapid growth and business expansion?
Sure, I can take this one.
Thanks,
So
Lori.
yeah, my journey here at eMoney started about 8 years ago and was much different than where we're at today. So I actually started as a senior QA analyst as part of one of our Scrum teams. And there was a team of what we had, maybe 12 QA folks who were spread across multiple teams. And there was a need for more standards and process to be put in place as we were using Word docs to document our test cases and capturing screenshots in there if necessary. We did not have a streamlined, process in getting work prioritized, and, when things would go out, they would kind of be released when they were ready to be released. So, Chuan came in, and then I came into eMoney not long after, again, as a senior QA analyst. And that's exactly when we started to grow. Within just a few months, several QA folks were being hired on and on. So our team started to grow. And, probably within at least a year, we were up close to that, what you see there, from 10 up to 30 Scrum teams. And this was based on the business needs, right? And what they were asking for and how much work was coming. So obviously, as part of that growth, that did lead to the need for a culture shift in our organization, and the idea of bringing in agile practices and standards, which also enabled our QA folks to be fully embedded into those teams with developers, product owners, and really gain a real team ownership of quality.
Yep.
So that was one of the biggest, I think, shift, at least from my perspective as an analyst, and getting that support, at the team level and working in that collaborative environment was big for us to be able to be successful in getting, our releases scheduled on time, on a biweekly basis as we moved forward. Also, as part of that, we were able to also shift left, right, into our testing and get more involved in that development process, which enabled QA now also to be able to have more collaboration with developers, so they know what's going on, during that coding timeframe, ask questions, and get a chance to actually maybe even test themselves, as well as help developers with testing, to also, help prevent bugs, which also saves time for QA down the road, and having to open any of those up if we're preventing them in the first place. It also enabled us to be able to have, an understanding of what changes were coming, and how they related back to the requirements that were being asked of the team. And eventually that did also bring on more focus into our mobile area. So, not only mobile web, but also native app, which was new for a lot of our QA team that were not quite familiar with it, but we wanted them to be able to have that increase their knowledge and skill set to be able to test those as well.
Yeah, the cultural shift is a huge one to empower your QA teams.
It's quite a transition as you're going through it, but once you get there, and they say it, and it's absolutely true. Once you get there, it makes a lot of sense, and you can't believe where you were before that.
And it's also great, as you mentioned, was that the quality ownership is throughout the team. And yes, we have QA professionals. We are responsible for the quality control and the testing, ensuring all of that. But as a team, they take pride in the quality of the work and the delivery. So really great there on that cultural shift.
Yep. Yeah. So our goal it really is to improve our release quality throughput, right? Which means we're increasing our first time through when we go to production, right? We want to minimize rebuilds, delays in deployment, hot fixes, impacting our customers' experience. We want to make those improvements as we go along. So, with that, we were able to increase our test coverage through automation, adding more automation to our test suite, as well as peer testing with developers, which brings in that shift left testing mindset, which overall that does, help reduce our test execution time as we're doing less manual, more automation, and decreasing the amount of time that we need to regression test, because that is all incorporated into those scripts and time frame, which ultimately does decrease our overall escape defects, which is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, we're able to run our automation nightly, and getting that validated throughout different time zones, and then we come back in the morning here in Radnor and be able to look at results, validate any issues with the script, with the coding, open up the bugs. Development then addresses it right away within the sprint.
Yeah. I mean, agile delivery culture and actually seeing the impact on your quality metrics, that's an amazing, you tied it up really well here. So thank you.
Yes.
Okay, looks like we have time for a quick poll here. So I'm going to launch the poll. Give me a minute. I think you should all be able to see a question pop up on your screen. We are very curious to know, sort of what are the key quality metrics that your teams are tracking? There are a couple of options there. So please select multiple, select those that you are prioritizing today. And I see that the responses are already trickling in. I'm going to give it a few more seconds.
I'm clicking on it, but as a panelist, I can't vote.
You can't vote.
Why is that frozen?
We already talked about your quality metrics, so we know yours.
We gave ours away already.
Okay, let's end the poll here. So looks like test coverage and test automation coverage both sort of got like really high percentage there, followed by, I would say, test execution times, which is 42%. Okay, so that's a good metric. I think you would almost say that this is very consistent with what you are prioritizing and experiencing at eMoney as well, right?
Yes. Yep. I think if you're going to have those in place where you have a large test coverage with automation, that's definitely going to minimize your escape defects, because a lot of errors are going to be validated and addressed before we deploy. So that's definitely going to help with that.
Absolutely. So thank you all for getting your votes in there. Okay, time for finding the right solution. As we are moving on and learning about your journey, I think the audience also would be curious here to know, how did you go about finding the right solution to address those challenges? What were sort of the key evaluation criteria that you had in place? So would love to hear that.
Sure, I'll take this one as well. So as Chuan mentioned, right, our journey really started back in 2018, where we were really looking for a way to be able to manage our mobile devices. At that time, as a result of our growth, we started to welcome our stay at our office space. So we were running out of space. We had so many teams, didn't have enough room to put them all. So it was like, hey, let's start remote working. Who was interested? It was on a voluntary basis. So I was like, yes, I have a long commute. I'll work from home once a week or twice a week, right? So that continued for a little while. But again, we had devices still in the office that you had to use while you were there. And then as we continued to grow even further, we had no space to fit everyone. At one point, it became mandatory where, okay, you can only be in the office for certain days, and we had to coordinate who was in the office and when, so that way we could accommodate everyone. So again, now you have even more people working from home and across. And so, that really brought on that challenge. So Chuan and I talked, and I said, we really need to find a solution to help us manage and stay up to date with, from a mobile perspective. So what we determined as key criteria, right, is that our devices definitely had to be private and be able to connect into our internal network, because we do have multiple test environments that are internal. They have to be secured, and they have to be available at any point when we're ready to test. So we're not in there testing all day on a mobile device, but when I need it and I need to retest a bug and it's needed by tomorrow, I need to be able to use it and it needs to be available. And then eventually we knew, so that was part of our initial criteria, what we knew we wanted. Yep. Eventually we knew that would turn into, we need automation. So we don't have any mobile automation. We need automation. And so, at that point, really, it was also the security requirements, and receiving the approval from our security team in those private devices and making sure that they had everything they needed. And they were absolutely dedicated to just us to be able to host and have that connection. So that way, again, we could connect into our internal network. And Chuan, if you wanted to add anything there.
No, I think that was, the key criteria is there.
Where it started,
again, we outgrew our space, we outgrew all the devices. It was time to look into, the solution there for sure.
Yeah, and the strong security profile need that you had, we could completely understand. Being a financial service company, that is absolutely key for you. So why Sauce Labs? Why was Sauce Labs your preferred vendor of choice? Were there any specific capabilities and benefits that really stood out to you?
Yeah, I think definitely because when we were going through this journey, we were looking for devices, right? But then there were, vendors that were able to do the hosting device. But then we also need to expand into automation. But then that means we have to switch from our Selenium over, and it'll be very cumbersome there. Additionally, we also need to do the additional testing of different operating systems and things like that. So as you can see there, I said Sauce Labs is the one-stop shop for us for our software quality needs. That's because you're able to provide us with a private hosted mobile device, right? So we expanded from Apple to Android devices. So we got a suite of those. We had the analysis to understand that, these were the mostly used devices out in the market. So that allows us to have that analysis and be able to select the right devices for us and for our end users. So we can have those coverage. Having the platform that will update the OS with the latest operating system and the patches and things like that, they're always going out. We're able to work with the platform and the administration to do that and manage to be able to be up to date. With the private device, we don't need to clear out our application and then release it for the public. This is here for us. We install it, we update the application ourselves when we need to. We don't need to clear out the cache. Everything's already in place for us, and we continue with our testing day in and day out. We really appreciate that, Appium's automation solution is already there. So now we have the ability to do our automation for our native app as well as our mobile web, right? So those are available to us. We built that in with our release pipeline and be able to validate on a daily basis, regular basis, or ad hoc. So it's available to us for that. And we really like that so we can still use our Selenium automation to test the web browsers, VMs that we have in place with this solution. So that was very important to us, again, as we need to be able to support the desktop and laptop solution across different operating systems and browsers. So that's available. And then one thing that was important to me was that the relationship we have with Sauce Labs is as a beta partner. As we continue to go down, we went beyond just the devices and the testing of automation. We saw that you had Sauce Visual that came out. And that allowed us as a beta partner, we were able to pilot that, do some proof of concepts with your support. Was this a solution that was good for us? Because this helped us test the web components as well as the mobile components to ensure that's pixel perfect. So we're able to pilot that, make sure it's a good solution for us before we subscribe. So I really appreciate that to give us to test it out and then be able to use that. So we use it now, and we are able to put that as part of our SDLC. Our development team loves it, and they use it on a daily basis as part, shift left, and be able to test on those components sooner. So that's really good. And so that's why we chose Sauce Labs, and it worked for us great. And we continue with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuan. I think it's wonderful for us to, hear customers validate our vision with the platform for test and calling us the one-stop shop for your software quality needs. I think Sauce Labs is definitely continuing to innovate on 3 key layers, which is, offering our customers the best of breed infrastructure, right? And giving our customers the ecosystem to test as many use cases as they need to, right? And of course, the observability layer, which is very important to give you the insights across the software development lifecycle.
I also want to add the customer
yeah?
relationship that you guys have. Meet with us on a
Absolutely.
weekly basis. Your account manager is always available. So he gives us heads up on things, as well as if we have an issue or need support, he's always available. So shout out to Jamal.
Yeah, it's ultimately about the people, right? We've always heard great feedback from our customers regarding our support teams, our CSMs and solution architects and experts who really work closely with customers along their journey. So thank you for mentioning that.
And I have to say, I do like your hot sauce.
Okay.
So we got some of your hot sauce and your argyle sauce.
Famous swag. That is great. That is great. Yeah. So I think to take this discussion to the next step, we would definitely like to understand what were sort of the tangible business results and quantifiable metrics that you saw after you implemented Sauce Labs.
So as I had mentioned, and I keep reverting back to it, when we actually did introduce Sauce Labs in around 2019, we were again using it from a remote mobile standpoint, to be able to complete that testing. And as everyone knows, at some point, COVID pandemic happened, right? We went fully remote. Okay, so we already had some people remote, but we went completely full remote. So the biggest advantage that we already had Sauce Labs in place is we had no impact to our technology department because we had full access to be able to complete our testing and development work being fully remote. So that was like a godsend. And I always said it, I'm so thankful that we had this already in place and we were prepared from that aspect. And so our business did not see any negativity as a result of us all going remote. On a positive note, obviously, yes, we did bring in, more mobile automation. So obviously before we had none, we introduced and were able to increase our testing suite to include mobile web, as well as native app, again, which was new. But again, we continued to build that out as we continued on. We also were able to stay current with the latest technology. So, as a company, we do have that commitment to making sure that we do support the latest devices, from an iOS and as well as an Android perspective. So, Sauce Labs has given us that ability to make sure that there is no interruption in our testing, and development, to make sure that all that coverage is taken care of. So we did increase our real device coverage by introducing Sauce Labs, because now we have access to more people can access it at the same time, as well as any virtual device as well. So it increased, being able to use emulators and simulators from any version of a browser or device that we needed to, which ultimately does increase our QA productivity. As I said before, we had to wait for others to finish testing on mobile, or the device was not updated, it was on an old version, or it wasn't charged. So literally our devices were sitting in a tote in someone's drawer that had to be charged, and someone forgot, and now we have to find the charger. So it was a box all mixed up together with a bunch of chargers, a bunch of devices, and we don't have to worry about that anymore. Which ultimately does help reduce our defect escape rate as well. When we have that more coverage, especially from our automation, that helps us prevent and find bugs a lot earlier.
Yeah, I think you touched upon a lot of key points here, like automation, scale, coverage, productivity, and escape defects rate. So, I mean, that's amazing. Looks like, the implementation has been very successful for you, and you are seeing some tangible impact there.
Yes.
Okay, so as we get to the end of the webinar, we'd love for you to just, bring out and pull up some of those key learnings and takeaways that you'd like our audience to, take home today. So what would those be?
Yeah, so I think the scalability, extensible, and integratable platform. So, we call that out because working with you guys, every 6 months we're able to swap out the devices, because technology and mobile devices, operating systems are changing all the time. So, Apple is releasing their new phones or new devices on an annual basis, but then we get patches all the time. We've got the OS updates. So you guys are always available to us. You have the, you host it in multiple regions. So the availabilities are there for us in all the regions. And, I know 99% of the time the system, and the platform is there, but if there isn't, we do get notified. So there's a notification coming to us real time. Hey, there's going to be a maintenance update. There's going to be a little outage. Then we are aware, right? So we can plan around that. So really appreciate that. But the reliability is there. So when we need it, if there's a problem, the device gets swapped out, very quickly, so that we can continue our business. So really appreciate that. As we mentioned earlier, it has the built-in emulators, simulators, and we can use our the built-in automation from Appium, but then with your VMs that are already there, we can also utilize our Selenium automation framework to push for the testing on the different operating systems and different cross browsers. Really helpful on that, as well as pushing over to do our mobile web automation. So that's all in place. And then again, as I said, the robust analytics and reporting, allowing us to understand the usage of the phones, usage within the market, so that helps us make our business decisions on what are the right devices for us to support with our application. So that was really good there. And last
Anything
but not
from you,
least,
Laurie? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but last but not least was the having the private devices for us, which we talked a lot about earlier, to support our security needs.
Yeah, I would just add, all of these, capabilities do offer the ability for any future potential growth as well, right?
Yep.
So, as we, based on our contract, what we currently have. If we need more, we can easily get more. If we need to scale down, we can easily do that as well. So as our business needs change, and the demands of what we need to support may fluctuate, we have that ability to be able to do that. And SaltLabs, again, we have a biweekly call with our CSM, and he's great at understanding what our needs are and what's coming, and what we need to prepare for, whether it's potential growth of our testing staff or just based on our business needs.
Yeah, thank you for that wonderful summary. Lots of good points here, and indirectly from your experience, right? So thank you for that. I think we can get into the Q&A. So I'm sure there are some questions here, and we can pick a few. So the first one is around, how are you determining the right test and device coverage?
That one.
Test coverage.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, it really is based on the business need, right? And what we're looking for, in our platform, and making sure that we're, supporting the latest and greatest, latest version, latest devices. That is always part of our strategy. We don't, obviously having a variety of those tests as well, making sure that we have that incorporated in, and obviously any regression, making sure that we're not impacting anything else while we're, within development.
Yep. Initially, when we first came out with our application, our mobile responsive was mainly just supported on the Apple devices, but now we've expanded through Android devices. So again, that was a business and product, drive there and demand. So that's, those are the criteria that pushed us forward and have this availability for us to be able to support that.
Yeah. And you talked about real devices. How are you seeing emulators and simulators getting incorporated in your testing practices?
Yeah, so I'm still a big believer of testing. Manual testing on real devices will never be replaced, right? So we can automate as much as we like. Having that physical device in your hand, really helps you be able to understand that end user experience, right? So, we still have real devices within SaltLabs to be able to do that, even though it's not in their hand. It's the same version or same, idea. And then, having the ability to use those emulators and simulators, can give you a little bit quicker tests, where you can pop in and look at any version, any type of browser that you'd like that you don't already have installed on your personal device. We have that ability to be able to do that. So for instance, we're on Windows laptops testing. We don't have a Mac device in our ability. So, our folks are able to go in there and emulate and simulate via Safari browser. But if a support ticket comes in, and they're finding an issue and we're not able to recreate it, and it may be something on an older version that needs to be looked at. So we have that ability to be able to do that. And obviously from an automation side, emulators and simulators are always a good suggestion. We still do have real tests on real devices as well, but have that ability to, again, include those emulators and simulators into automation and get even quicker tests than using a real device.
Yeah, you're getting that scale and coverage earlier in your development cycle is probably where you're also seeing emulators being incorporated. Can you also highlight like some of the specific capabilities in private devices, like as a fintech company, that you were very, very helpful for you?
Yes, as I mentioned before, our PII data security is very important to us. We need to also protect our IP, so that remains private cloud and private device for us, and also our internal network. So we have a special tunnel with you guys to ensure that connection. There's no one else going to our devices. We get to manage what is installed there, updated, who gets access to it. We test it, right? And as Lori mentioned earlier, to have the actual mobile device, just because the functionality is there, you have the device there, we can actually validate the workflow. Is it a good user experience? Just because the functionality works doesn't mean it's a a good mobile experience, right? So in order to have that, that's very helpful for us. Even if it's good on Apple, is it going to be the same on Android devices? So being able to switch between both devices, different type of models and makes of devices from the Android perspective, that allows us to make sure that the user experience is working well as well. So that's big for us, and that's why we like to have our own private devices and having the actual physical devices that are hosted, so we can have access to that at any time, and for availability for all of our team members throughout different time zones.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good summary there. We'll take one more question. What processes did you implement as you started to perform shift left testing?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again? My headphone was falling.
Yeah, the question was, what sort of processes and activities did you implement as you started to, perform shift left testing?
Yes. So what we did was we have, so how we have peer programming, we actually had peer programming and peer testing. So our QA folks, after we get the user stories, we groom them together. Our QA folks actually sits with the development and they mob together, right? So while the coding's occurring, QA is also coming early on, being able to come up with the different scenarios for unit testing, coming up with the test data upfront so that the development can use that as part of their unit testing. Then development also tells us from the QA members that are there, hey, this is going to integrate with these other features. So this is where we need to do the functional testing, where it's going to integrate with, and then also understand the regression, because just because we're hitting this area within this form, it's going to hit these other forms of the report. So, being able to sit, shift left, sitting with the developers, sitting with our POs, we're understanding the requirements a lot sooner, we're testing a lot sooner, and then we're be able to do the test coverage from beginning to end. And then we relay it off and automate once it's built and validated. We built the automation, then we incorporate it into our automation suite. So that's part of being shift left and and having that culture. It's about collaboration, quality ownership throughout the whole team, not just the QA team. So that's really appreciative here at eMoney.
Yeah, so
everybody
I
owns
can
quality.
Yes, I can add just, also from a QA side, they did not have to open up new bugs because they're in still in development phase, right?
Yeah.
So, it was new for our QA folks to be, oh, I don't have to open up a bug, but yeah, you're in there, you're still in development. That's the benefit of being in there. You both can test it out, and you don't have to write that bug up in a whole separate, tool and document all of that, as long as it gets fixed and you guys all retest and everything's there. So that was a good benefit to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's all the time we have for our webinar today, Chuan and Laurie. Thank you for this incredible conversation. There's sharing your learnings, experiences. I'm sure people are taking a lot home today with them. I also want to thank everyone who attended and participated throughout the webinar. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be, as this is recorded, we'll be sharing the slides as well as the recording, along with some good resources that will be useful for you very shortly here. So thank you on behalf of Sauce Labs. Have a great rest of your day.